Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Premier Madden podcast. I'm your host, Finn, and I am joined today by my lovely co-host, Anthony. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. And Rob, how you doing, bro?
Great.
It's good to have you guys here, man. Obviously, we, kind of come today with some heavier hearts. If you guys don't know, well, I know you two know, but some of you guys listen to the podcast may not know that there was a shooting at a Madden event in Jacksonville. And it took two pretty well-known Madden gamers, Trueboy, Elijah Clayton, and Spot Me Please, that's Taylor Robertson. So rest in peace to those guys. Everybody else affected, we kind of had them in our thoughts today. Truly sad stuff. You never want to see a situation go like that. We love competition, but we also love the sportsmanship that comes with it. And it got carried away, and unfortunately, it took two lives way too young. Do you guys have any comments on the shooting you guys want to say? That's all I have for it.
I mean, it's just a terrible thing. You hate to see it happen. And, thoughts and prayers to all the families affected. And who not only just Spot Me Please and Trueboy, but also all people injured and anyone there.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say that as hard as this is for everybody that's going through things, I think it's important for us all to keep in mind that nobody wanted this. Nobody was prepared for this. Nobody could expect something like this to happen. And to just, take that with a grain of salt and be careful when you're placing blame and don't let your grief take control of you too hard, and try to keep an open mind and just, keep your positive thoughts and stuff with the families and don't be trying to place blame, and let's just try to move past this together as a community.
Right. And I'll note that one Madden professional player put out a message regarding how he had treated, and he felt like he had treated the shooter badly in a previous time and feels lucky to be alive. And I guess the lesson to learn is you're right, and nobody's to blame here, but the person who did it, you can't anticipate that. But I guess just being mindful of how we speak to people, how we treat people, because you never know what can happen. You never can know what somebody's dealing with, or you never know what's about to push somebody over the edge. So it's always all right. You don't have to be nice to everybody. You don't have to be a perfect person and be friends with everybody, but treating people with a level of respect could go a long way. That's not placing blame on anybody. That was somebody came out and said that that's how they felt on their previous actions. And unfortunately, it came down to this past couple of days. So moving on from the shooting here, as hard as that is to do, let's talk a little bit about Madden. All right, this patch came out. I don't think it's the 30-day patch. It might be. It hasn't hit 30 days yet. But I want to kind of get your guys' thoughts on what did it fix, and if there's anything kind of still glaring. And I know I say that with like a huge asterisk. We know there's things that are being glaringly missed. But let's kind of talk a little bit about what you guys felt like it did fix here as I pull up the patch notes, which I meant to do pre-show. But if any of you guys know off the top of the dome, go ahead and listen.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I saw that they had changed was the hit stick. They removed strength from the equation when forcing fumbles. And I've noticed that the fumbles seem to be way tuned down. I will just be rocking guys left and right and can't buy myself a fumble these days. So that's probably the biggest difference that I've noticed.
Right. I would like to see maybe I don't know if I care too much about fumbles, like the count, because there aren't really that much that happened in the game like we've seen before. I wouldn't be against turning it up, but I do think maybe plays off. Like after a guy gets truly rocked, he gets subbed out. Maybe there's some more fatigue. You get hit, it takes a huge blow to your fatigue, and you're going to lose Le'Veon Bell for a drive or two plays or three plays, or a guy that you are abusing too much. So maybe that as a good midway point, because now you have to deal with the depth of your lineup by, not playing it safe. What about you, Rob? Did you see anything?
So I don't think anything in particular, but I know that the reason, on the patch notes itself, I know that the reason they did that is because when people were getting picks, a lineman would come on the field with a 90 strength and just light somebody up, and that's why. But I think they just kind of, from what I've seen, on the online, the meta, they patched a few the plays that were glitched out. There was some fake fake screen wheel play that was like people were just running online. It would just your safeties would just stand still. They fixed like a few little bugs like that in the game, but I haven't really seen anything like too big besides that.
Right. I do have them pulled up here. I'll kind of list it off here and we can go. So as Anthony mentioned before, we got the new hit stick formula. We have less defensive knockouts versus possession catch, which I think is good if you're going to make the risk for no yards. It seemed like, and it's still kind of happening. Something I've seen is there's some weird animations where guys, they really close in on a possession catch, and it knocks the ball out pretty late. And I don't know if you guys seen this either. It's almost like Madden was playing with the catch rule in real life where like a guy will catch it, take 2 steps and drop it, and they'll count it as a catch. I'm kind of confused at that. I just wish it was a little bit more consistent. But either way, maybe it's just a new animation. Here's a good one. New off-ball injury banner shows team and player. So you instantly know who you're missing. You don't have to wait a play or two.
That's like 6 years overdue. That I don't know why that has not been in the game for ages at this point.
And it was
finally here.
And how much of a hotfix was that? This isn't something you had to take all summer. It was like, good idea. Maybe they finally just had a guy employed that could fix that. So some franchise updates. As we said, the injury timeout drop down has the player name and team next to it. Let's see some issues regarding big decisions and franchise mode. Let's see, Madden Ultimate Team. That's for Rob. Have you noticed anything else on the cheesy mutt side, Rob?
I mean, honestly, like not really. The hit stick definitely tuned down, which I think overall is better. But I think the only thing they did is just fix glitch plays. That's what I can tell just from playing. You can't really tell much besides less hit sticks and fix some of these like glitches in the AI.
Right. Something that's really got me grinding my gears, right, is the lack of the player lock camera that they've had for a couple of years for like playing on defense. And the reason why is because I use it as a tool. I don't know if I said this before on the podcast. I only got into football video games because one of my friend's older brothers played at Penn State, played a defensive back for Penn State, and then he made it to the league, played for Tennessee and then Denver and then on so forth. Anyway, so from like NCAA Carson Palmer on the cover. What was that? 2003? 2004? Anybody remember? All the way up to about Madden 15, I only played defensive back. So I got used to that camera. So like in the red zone, I'll blitz everybody and play man on the one receiver and pick off a slant that somebody will play, right? And then other situations. And they removed that. What they did is they made the Mutt Squads camera so whenever you switch to playing a DB, it kind of slides over. But the downside is it really limits what you can see on the field if the ball's going away from you. And I'm not too much of a fan of that. Player likeness. Anthony, is there anything you just feel like they missed and it still needs to be fixed?
Yeah. When your receiver will fumble or something like that or drop a pass or something like that, they will, or it's picked off, your receiver will sometimes just stand there and pout on the field. And it doesn't seem to happen as often, but I've definitely still seen it in there. So,
right.
I wish the other thing I've seen.
No, go ahead, bro.
It's not really like that. That I've definitely seen a lot, but something that I've encountered a few times is we all like to get a little bit cocky when you're jumping in the end zone with a running back, or whatever. There's been a few times where I've done it, where instead of it might just be me clicking the buttons wrong, but instead of jumping in the end zone, I just fall at the 1 yard line. So that might be me with just clicking the wrong buttons or something. But
what are you?
A few times.
You're trying to dive, or are you trying to celebrate going in?
So not like the walking, jogging celebration. You know how when you like jump in the end zone, you like go into like some crazy like jumping weird animation. Yeah. Like that.
Well, if you hold both triggers, it's give yourself up, right? If you hold both triggers and you press X, that means you're giving yourself up, like falling to the ground. So maybe
I know that, and I use that with running backs, or I'm sorry, with quarterbers. But I feel like I might just be clicking that wrong trigger or something, but I don't really know.
Right. Do you remember? There's such an unnecessary change, and Madden didn't want to tell anybody. You remember that? Like I think it was like 17 when they made that change.
Yeah, I didn't know until there was a video made about it.
Right. So those of y'all who don't know, Matt, QB slide used to just be double tap X and he slides. And then they without telling anybody, changed it to both triggers and X. And it led to so many people getting fumbles by their quarterback. One of the things I felt like they're really missing is blocking still. Blocking is just absolutely atrocious. Namely, I would say IQ after the snap. So, I mean, obviously there's going to be missed blitz pickups where your left guard decides that he wants to roll all the way to the right side to pick up a guy instead of just paying it. I don't know, not being smart out the get. But also there was a situation where a guy decided that he was going to drop his right defensive end over my right tackle into coverage. So the right tackle didn't have anything to do. I saw this and was like, well, if you're going to drop him into coverage, I'm just going to roll out right. I roll out right, the left tackle gets beat, and the right tackle's right there. He could just turn and block the guy and, and help me with the rollout, but he doesn't. He just kind of stands there in his stance looking forward as I get run down and sacked. And I just counted on him picking up the blitz, and he just did it. And that might be a coding thing, and that's something I really hope that we could get a guy on, whether it be Equipment Guru for the ratings talk or maybe one of the guys, software developers behind the scenes, or programmers, that would be their term, right? And kind of get an idea of what really is their issue. Because I would love to see a situation where they outsource. If it's coding, at the end of the day, there's thousands of guys that, do these mods all the time. So either you need to hire better or maybe outsource to a programming. I don't know what it is, but blocking seems to be pitiful. Though I will say it feels a little bit easier to run out the get, but I feel like pass blocking is still a big issue. And then QB spies are the most overpowered thing I've ever seen in Madden. It's not a completely true statement. It's not the most overpowered, but have you guys seen your defensive tackles reaching up and snagging interceptions for a pass that was supposed to go 15 yards down the field?
I have not seen that. I would like to see that.
Really? I'll send you some clips. But pretty much if you put a defensive tackle and a spy and you try and throw anything over the middle of the field, they just reach up and snag it.
Oh, okay. See, I love that move. That's one of my go-tos when people are running around too much, is to put the D tackle in. Right.
The issue is it also covers very well.
Yeah.
I feel like it's smart because we don't have the option. So in the real NFL, if somebody's playing a 3-step route, you don't want to pass rush. You're not going to get there in time, right? Within the West Coast offense, especially if you're anticipating what would be a quick throw. So you play passing lanes, and sometimes it can make or break a play. Like in real life, Kyle Van Noy didn't play the passing lane correctly to Zach Ertz, and it cost them, a Super Bowl on the slant. It's an actual thing. So I would love to see it incorporated, and maybe you can incorporate it with the spy by spying the guy in the anticipated passing lane. And his job is obviously spy the quarterback on a run, mirror him, and then 2, if a throw comes your way, reach up. Just maybe not make it an interception. Bat it up. Push it up in the air. Maybe somebody else intercepts it, or just bat it down at the line. I would be so fine with that. But just reaching up and snagging it is just a little bit too much for me. Guys with 30 catch rating. And it's not even just slants. It'll be like you try and throw a post. Any bullet throw that's probably under 20 yards, they can grab. It's absolutely insane, some of the clips that I've seen. So I think that needs to be fixed. It's not bad to have them play the pass. It just should not be an interception. Bat it up in the air, I don't care. Bat it to the ground, incomplete pass, I don't care either. But I don't think it should be an interception.
So for the blocking, what you're saying with blocking, I've definitely seen that a lot. And most commonly with the running backs. The running backs cannot, I've seen so many times where blitz will just come straight in and right past the running back, which obviously is at least a chip on them would be something, but they just don't even react. And then for the QB spy thing, I've definitely seen that. I think they buffed QB spies this year in general because last year they did not work whatsoever. I mean, if you were going to run right straight to the middle, then yeah, they would stop them. But if you had even a somewhat fast quarterback and you ran to the outside, you would just run straight past the spy and you get 3, 4, 5 yards every time. So I think it's good, and they AI a little bit with that. So when you are running out, instead of just like stand at the line, if you're like run 5 yards up, like out of the pocket and just stand there, they'll come chase you down now. So you can't just do that anymore. So that's something. But I think definitely what you're saying, they play like I've seen Vita Vea, this 325-pound like big ass dude. Like he'll play a QB spy like a good zone and then pick it. Like something that should definitely not be happening. But the only way around it is like not bullet passing. But when you have that quick route, like a slant, you said, or maybe like an in route, you kind of need a bullet pass. You can't just float that in the middle of the field. So just need some tuning.
Right. Yeah, and when it says like fix causing tight ends to remain frozen at the line if they had no defender or block when end up blocking. Oh, another thing. And this might be misunderstanding, so if you guys know it better, the whole delay route, right, where it's your response, you have a linebacker. If he doesn't blitz, you release. If he does blitz, you block him. I feel like that's not working correctly with tight ends. A tight end will block a guy blitzing on him for like a second, and then he'll just like release. And it keeps getting me sacked because I'm like, all right, cool. You have a purple route. Your whole goal is block if he comes, run the route if he doesn't. But maybe he's supposed to block and release, and then maybe I'm supposed to make that read. Do you guys know how that mechanic is supposed to work? Maybe I just don't understand it right.
Yeah, I have no idea on that one.
Yeah, I would like to see maybe some clarification, and maybe we can bring in a guy that knows a little bit about that.
From what I know, I think you have the mechanic right. It's just a bogey mechanic. You know what I'm saying? So.
Right. Let's see. And then my last thing was deep blue zones, especially in cover 2, feel just absolutely useless on anything.
Yeah.
I really feel like they don't cover ground that they should cover if they're going to play as deep as they are. And every single post is just wide open.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, right? It is a weak spot in cover 2, inherently, especially if you don't have a true, Luke Kuechly type guy, linebacker, right? That's where the Tampa 2 was invented. But I just wish there was a little bit more options within customizing to tell them to maybe cheat it, right? And that's where we get into more like coverage-based things. Like if I'm a corner in cover 2 in real life, yeah, my responsibility is the flat. But if nobody is in the flat, I just keep gaining depth, right? Otherwise, it'd be too easy to put a go and a post on your side of the field and then make the safety choose one, right? Hypothetically, you would beat cover 2 every single time if the safety has to choose between a go and a post if you just release both of them. But what you would do is you would read it, and if none of them cut outside, if your guy in front of you goes vertical and they play and the slide goes vertical, you would also gain your depth until later in the route. That's the whole concept of cover 2, right? It's bend, don't break. And it just doesn't make sense because I just don't feel like it covers like it should. But I think we might be asking a little bit too much at EA at this point. So let's move on. They did some tweaks to All Pro versus All Madden. And I guess what it really comes down to is what do you guys think is the best for a league? Which one do you feel plays more to its ratings? Have you guys labbed any of them? And then I guess we'll go from there.
So I'll jump on this one because I'm pretty passionate about these differences. I feel like the sim is made it's supposed to be a simulation of what happens on Sundays, right? So that's what sim stands for. And I feel like all that really ends up being, or all that has developed into, is that there's more sort of spontaneous things that will happen, sort of Madden intervention to make a player play worse or play better based on their ratings, and just things that you don't anticipate happening will happen spontaneously because Madden kind of decides in their algorithms of the player ratings that this should happen in this situation, if that makes sense to you guys. And then the competitive one is for the guys that play in these competitions and stuff. They don't want any Madden intervention. They want it to be based on them making reads, them dictating the offense and the defense, and and manipulating the game the way the game is structured. They want all, basically it's the when you can do a head-to-head matchup and you can do the even teams. It's almost like that. You're almost getting even teams type of thing because The players are going to play very generically, and it's mostly based on the user skill. And then the arcade version is just going to be, what your little brother plays on because he wants to just throw it deep every single play.
Right. I think that the competitive mode, as you described it, is what is holding Madden esports back. So in every other esports, right, Call of Duty is the one I have the most, the most with or experience with. Obviously it's team-based, so that's different versus Madden, which is a single user controlling. So it's going to have its differences. Don't throw the book at me for this one. But what really gets me with Call of Duty is you're choosing your gun, you're choosing your setup, and you're making sacrifices. You know what I'm saying? And you want to choose a long-range gun where you're gonna struggle if you get caught on a rotation with a guy that has a submachine gun. You want stun grenades? Well, you might be giving up having frag grenades and being able to make an important kill, but instead be a role player and help your guys with subs do those things. So comparing that to Madden, I think that you taking away the player uniqueness of certain players, there's an inherent risk to grabbing a team that's all offense with no defense versus the other, or grabbing a team that can run the football extremely well, go shove it down their throats with the Cowboys. Like, I think you have to choose a team based on your gameplay. And I feel like if you can't win with the multiple teams, or at least more than one team or more than even teams where you're manipulating, I think that ruins the spirit of football, because the whole thing is personnel and personnel management and adjustments. How can you claim that you're making adjustments if everybody just plays the same? If everybody's starting out vanilla, then the adjustments are just a broken game. You're not really playing a person. You're playing Madden, and you're breaking the EA mechanic, and you're just hoping that they've labbed a way to figure out that mechanic. I feel like it takes away from the sport of football, which is why when you see esports in Madden, you see the same play being ran over and over. You see the same coverages, cross-manning. Okay, here's the deal. If we're doing a thing where we're playing a Madden game, a football game, and you can run a concept like cross-manning and be successful, I think it really ruins the sport for me, because esports is all about sim and competition, right? All the other sports like Madden or Call of Duty and if you guys disagree with me here, go listen to the first podcast with SGO, because he had a perfect counter argument to all of what I'm saying. And really it came down to there's money on the line, right?
Yeah.
So I do agree with him there. I just, in other esports, there's always bans. They ban things. There's gentleman agreements on things, but mainly just the banning of things to make it more competitive, and more risk reward instead of, he lucked out kind of deal. So, I mean, I think there's perfect counter arguments, but back to the franchise side, I feel like I've always been an all Madden guy, but I feel like all pro is just, you might have to go all pro for your franchise this year. What do you think, Rob?
So I have so far a good amount of playtime on both all Madden and all pro for franchise. So the one league I'm in is on all Madden. The one league I'm in is on all pro, and they're both in week 4 right now. So 4 games in plus any offline semi done, which is not a lot, but it's a good amount. Maybe like 1-2 seasons. But I haven't been playing every game. But so what I've seen is, I feel, and this is the same thing that goes for MUT, so in competitive game modes, but in simulations is a lot more clear. The higher difficulty all Madden all pro. So all Madden, like, you're really gonna tell. So if I have build example, if I have my right tackle John Mills, okay, dude's a bum. Okay, you never heard of him, you never will, 'cause he's a bum. If I'm going up against an elite pass rusher, every single play that dude's getting in the backfield. And on all pro, it might be like 75% of the time. On pro, it might be like 50-50. And then same thing offensively. Say I have a Zach Martin, okay? And if I'm up against a bum lineman, I'm going to kill him all game. I'm going to run it down his throat, and the dude's never going to get that block shed. And I think that can be good and bad for franchises. I mean, it's good in the sense that your overalls matter, and you really do need to focus on every position. You just you have to game plan around this. So you can't just walk into a game like thinking, oh yeah, like how much do I do with every other team? Like I just have my air raid offense that works against everyone. Because against a team with a great secondary like the Jaguars, like that's not going to work. So I think it's good in that sense. Like it's going to help in-depth game planning and stuff like that. But in the same aspect, a team that is loaded like the Eagles versus a team that is trashed like the Bills. I mean, user skill definitely still matters. Like that's the most important thing, but it's going to be a lot harder to even keep up. Just in because Madden's gonna give them all the bounces. So it's like a give and take type thing. But overall, I think all Madden for a pure like a really ultra sim franchise, I think all Madden's the way to go because in real life, Von Miller is gonna kill John Mills. I mean, in real life, Zach Martin is gonna kill that bum D tackle that nobody knows about. So I mean, it obviously I'm not the one who makes these decisions, but I mean it's a hard decision. So I don't envy JT.
My thing is you mentioned Von Miller. Von Miller's got about 100 games played. He's got 83 sacks. Von Miller, in my opinion, is the best edge rusher in the NFL. Does anybody have any counters to that? Khalil's up there.
Yeah, one of those two probably. Going for speed rusher, either Von or Khalil.
Right.
1A, 1B.
Right. I think any given play, one could be better than the other. Von Miller averages less than a sack a game. Now, that's across a career, which is really tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh, he averages less than 20 points a game or 20 points a game. Well, that's his whole career. You know what I'm saying? That takes ups and downs. It takes playing injured. It takes age, whatever. I think all Madden was perfectly tuned prior to Madden 18, Madden 19. I think they just haven't quite gotten the formula down with this switch to sim, comp, and arcade. I think it's a great idea. But I don't think it's Madden. All Madden sim is the same all Madden that we're used to. And I think it's just a little overpowered on the defensive side. I feel like a lot of players are really playing above their rating. And it becomes really, really tough, in my opinion, against certain defenses. That might just be because I'm bad. It very well could be. And I've played in all Madden leagues, and I've played well. But I still think that it's a little tough. Now, granted, last year, All-Pro was – if you played in a league on All-Pro and you were worth your salt at all on offense, you were walking away with 30, 40 points a game. If it was cover 3, what were you doing? Deep out, right? If it was cover 2, what were you doing? Post. There were just things that you could not cover. But I feel this year in the All-Pro League I've played, I think I've scored more than 20 points once. And I've struggled. This is me struggling because other people have put up numbers. 1 second. What are you doing, little one? Get the bottle. My little one was beating a bottle on the floor. Anyways, sorry.
Real professional.
Right, this professional grade podcast in my home studio. Oh, she's been so good. Anyway, sorry guys. I just feel like there has been a lot of turnovers, and I've had to make smarter decisions, even though it is all pro. I'm the Titans. I don't have the most efficient offensive quarterback, and I feel that. I feel like I can't just high pass when I want to. I feel like, there's certain throws that I just can't make in the game. I get punished for trying to throw a far hash out route or a deep out route. It's going to get picked off because, Mario doesn't have the strongest arm, and I just feel like right now all pro sim is closer to what I want than all Madden sim. But I wish that I didn't have to be on All Pro, if that makes sense. And Pest, the guy we had on a couple weeks ago, is like avid All Madden, no matter what kind of deal, like deal with it. But last year, I mean, you guys saw the sack counts.
Yeah.
You guys saw the interception counts. It's simply not sim. It's not fun. So something's up, and we need to find the midway point. That's what sliders are for, but there's some things that we just can't fix.
I think that attitude that Pest has is a common one among players. So if you're trying to fill a 32-team league, and you're playing on All-Pro, you're going to get a lot of players to turn their nose up at you because they're going to be like, what is this rookie league? Like, not playing on all pro. Like it's like a pride thing. Like they think that you have to, for the best game experience, you have to be playing on all Madden. And honestly, I've flipped back and forth. I've toyed with back and forth. I think that it really isn't. It's not that huge a difference if you're basing it on what is good for your league. So if you have a league of 32 guys and they're all cool with all pro with adjusted sliders, then I would definitely go with that. But if you're trying to fill a league, you want it filled with people, and you want it at a level that you're not going to have those sort of cheesy players that can come in and just dominate the lesser players. You're going to want it on all Madden to kind of equalize it as much as possible. And it's, then you just tweak the sliders a little bit. I've always said that you should tweak the interceptions and offensive line play a little bit to, increase the offensive line and reduce the secondary. Because sometimes on all Madden, the breaks in the ball are just too unrealistic. Guys like with their back turned to the ball will just flip around and make this like old school NFL blitz interception. And it's just like, it feels like an equalizing play by the AI rather than an actual play that was deserved, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, to that point with the stats and everything, and even to the defense, like I think that so in the one league I'm in, people are having a real tough time with like offensive production. So we all know that like in years past, basically every Madden, it's an offensive dominated game. Like usually the offense is pretty overpowered. It's if you can catch a lucky break on defense, catch them off guard, get a pick. And so this year it's almost like it's on all Madden. It's a struggle. Like you have to be very careful. And there was dudes in the first like 2 weeks with like 10 picks, and they were not good players. But you shouldn't have like 10 picks in 2 weeks. I don't care if you're good or bad. So that would be a downside. And like same with like the sacks. The sacks were like crazy. It's just because like players who are not very good, it's going to be extremely hard for them to get any offensive production, let alone if they have like a bad team at that, then there's a good chance someone like that's going to leave the league, regardless of if they're into just like the league team building. Like when you're throwing 5 picks a week and you can like barely score, like you're not going to have fun. Right. So I think that definitely has to factor into it, to a decision like that.
Right. And the good people are going to dominate regardless of where you're at. If it's at all Madden, they're going to dominate. If it's at all pro, they're going to dominate. That's just, there is a skill gap. It's just keeping your low end players happy. We're almost coming to the end of our meeting here, and I feel like we should have a shorter episode this week, mainly because I didn't get any water. But I do have a final question for you guys, kind of sporadic here, and I'll let you guys kind of go with it as you will. My question is, you just joined a fantasy draft league, and you have round one, pick one is all yours. Who are you selecting and why? We'll start with Rob.
This is a Madden fantasy draft?
Yes, sorry, Madden fantasy. So you joined a CFM. Yeah. My bad. A Madden CFM. It's a fantasy draft league. I know you probably wouldn't want to play in one of those, but you have the first pick. Every player in the NFL at your disposal. What would you select? Who would you select and why?
So I feel like you pretty much got. I mean, for me at least, I come down to 2 positions. It's either quarterback, or for me, Jalen Ramsey. So quarterback or Jalen Ramsey. So because
I think Jalen's a safe pick.
Because Jalen Ramsey's an automatic 9 overall. I think he's a 97 overall at like 24 right now. He has the speed.
He's absolutely silly. I don't think you're wrong at all for that.
So, but it's either quarterback or Jalen Ramsey pretty much. So,
well, you just lock down every receiver in the game. You just lock down every receiver in the game. So, I mean, from now, I don't think you need to address to. You could have, you can allocate resources somewhere else. So I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, it's a really good pick. I think I'd have to go with, just to switch it up, I would go with Myles Garrett because he is just a hoss. Will fit any defensive scheme you want to run. Will develop really quickly. And, you need one of those guys, like you said, that will just take advantage of those weak offensive tackles and just, be in the backfield and allow you to not have to blitz as much because you can just rely on the front 3 bringing instant pressure.
Right. And now I have to go offense because you guys are all on defense here. I like Myles Garrett, though, before I even give my pick. I like Myles Garrett. I think it's an excellent pick. And he's young. And
Yeah,
to
he's
start
only
that-
22 now, so
So my pick was going to be Aaron Donald because if you shift the 4-down lineman to any side and you force Donald in a one-on-one, it's Sack City. It's Sack City. I have not seen him stopped yet. But I don't want Aaron Donald because you guys have gone defense. I'm going to go with the cheese ball himself, Tyreek Hill. Fastest player in the game, super young. I mean, if you guys are going to have all of these guys that are just animals on defense, I need the one guy that can beat them, and that's going to be Tyreek, whether it be a drag, whether it be a go. Ramsey's the only person that could probably hang. So I'm going to go Tyreek Hill, 98 speed. I don't know why they nerfed John Ross. There really isn't a reason. It's not like it took a huge knee injury. So why John Ross isn't the fastest in the game, I don't know.
He cooked the Bills the other day. If you guys have seen that clip, he did.
Oh,
that like
yeah.
pretty awesome.
We
It was
watched that.
bad. It was real bad.
So we have Jalen Ramsey, we have Tyreek Hill, and we have Myles Garrett. Let us know what your pick would be. First round, first pick in a fantasy draft. That's a lot of pressure. It's a lot more than you think because you're just – not only that, you have to wait, like 60 picks now? Almost?
Yep.
60 picks until you go again. So you really got to get a cornerstone. So that's a huge thing. So, well, we are at less than a minute. We are going to let you guys go. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Looking forward to talk to you all next time.